Mad Dog, I want to start with you because, you're the historian.
Why not? I'll have fun with it.
So, right? Are you buying what Dre said?
Well, first off, let's be fair. And I saw the team play all the games.
Okay.
Draymond Green would not play on the 86 Celtics. He wouldn't play. He's not going to play over Bird. He's not playing over McHale. He's not playing over Parrish. He's not playing over Bill Walton. And he's not playing over Scott Wedman. So he wouldn't even play. He'd be on a team.
Over Scott?
Wedman was a great shooter. I don't think he's even playing over him. And he's certainly not playing in the backcourt with DJ, Ainge, and people like, and Gerald Henderson and people like that. He wouldn't be on a team. He'd barely be on a team. Let's call it like we see. The NBA is so much different than it was then because there was the physicality aspect, big front lines. You think he's going to play in the 87 Lakers when they got, or 85 Lakers with Wilkes, Worthy, Kareem, and McAdoo, and Michael Thompson? And then Byron Scott and Magic in the backcourt, he wouldn't be on a team. He just wouldn't play. So, because he's physical, but in those days, they were rugged. They never called fouls. The game was much more centered in the paint because there wasn't a lot of three-point shooting, so they had 10 big bodies on a smaller scale. And the officials, a lot of times there weren't 3 officials. There was only 2 officials, so a lot more things went by. So, listen, I'm not saying it's better basketball, but it's different basketball. And the way Green plays with his physicality and his size, these teams they're much better. He just wouldn't be a factor. Even the Detroit team, the Detroit team with Rodman, with John Sally, with Lambeer and Aguirre, with Isaiah and Dumars and James Edwards. Where is he playing on that team? He's not better than Rodman. He's not better than Sally. Sally was 7 foot tall. He's not better than James Edwards, who could score. He's not better than Lambeer. He's not better than Mark Aguirre. So, and they were physical, banged and bruised. So the 80s, I'm not saying it's better basketball as far as the style of play, but the players were unbelievably talented. They were very, very good. And Green is not on that level from a talent perspective or a physical standpoint that even playing a team. Now, I know JJ would disagree probably, but I'm telling you right now, he wouldn't play in the 86 Celtics.
Oh, Lord.
He playing the 86 Celtics?
No, I agree with you there, but I still am disgusted that, I like sparring. I'm sorry, my mic fell off. I apologize. I like sparring with J.J. Redick. I love to disagree with J.J. Redick. I love for J.J. Redick to come at me so I can school him sometimes when he needs to be schooled. And you got me here, doggy, agreeing with J.J. Redick. I mean, I just finished arguing with him about this stuff on Get Up, but you took it to a whole nother level with the disrespect to Draymond Green. You brought up 2 of the elite teams in the game of basketball.
I gave you 3.
Let me finish. You're right. I apologize. You did say 3. What I'm saying to you is this. The game was different then. Front lines were bigger. There was a level of physicality that's allowed or whatever. That doesn't mean you turn around and disrespect Draymond Green by not highlighting the change in today's game, his movement of foot, his quickness as a defensive player, his basketball IQ, and what a basketball savant and a brilliant basketball player he is in today's generation. The fact of the matter is the game has changed. I don't fault the players. When I call the game soft, JJ, for example, I'm not talking about the players. Look at how big and athletic and strong a lot of these players are. And look at how gifted most of these players are. And obviously, JJ was right when you point out the game has been changed for the better from an offensive perspective. What I lament is the fact that every little thing is called. And because the players are smart enough to know how the game is called today, they try to capitalize off of that in a way that makes the game seem so much softer. I'm not talking about the physicality of the players themselves and what they're capable of. I'm talking about what the game is disallowed, how the players gravitate towards that, and try to milk it to such a degree that on far too many occasions we're looking at dudes that could be acting in Top Gun, for crying out loud, starring J.J. Redick. That's what I'm lamenting. I'm in no way trying to say that a player, and nor do I believe that today's player should be disrespected like they couldn't compete in that era physically, capability-wise, in terms of their athletic prowess and the gifts that they have on a basketball court. I'm talking about the game being called softer and players trying to capitalize off of that.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.